Hi everyone, it is Drake and Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a great New Year's Eve. I know I did, and I hope you also have a good New Year's Day and maybe for some of you a recovery day. I'm here because it's the end of the year and I don't know about you guys, but I watch a lot of movies and I like to go over all the movies that I watched at the end of the year in a little ranked way. I used to do this on Instagram and I would post 10 a day and give my little rating of it and then give miniature reviews of the top 10. But this year I want to do a little something different because I no longer have Instagram and I think it'd also just be a lot more fun as a video format. In previous years we've watched from 70 to 80 movies, but this year we only got to about 50 movies. That's because I've had a really crazy year. It's been insanely busy. I was working 3 jobs at one point. We're now down to 2. I'm also currently going back to school for a master's degree, and I also met the love of my life this year. And earlier this, I guess it's January now, so last month, we got engaged, and I have never been happier. She is the best person ever, and her son is freaking adorable, and I love them both so much. So Savannah Maverick, Happy New Year. You may notice a bunch of kids movies made the list this year for what I watched, and that's just what happens when you're in a family. Obviously, I'm not just gonna sit here and just go into a detailed review of every single movie that I watched this year. If you want that, you can go to my letterbox and you can see some more reviews there. But what we're going to do is, at least for the bottom 45, so 50 through 6, I'm just gonna give a 1-sentence review of and the rating of the movie. For the top 5, I will actually go a little bit more into detail about why I loved it and why I think it's the better movies of the year. You are probably also going to notice there's some movies that were very popular this year that might not be on this list. That's because I didn't get around to watching them. Again, I had a very busy year, I missed some releases, and I can't wait to watch them this next year. With that said, let's get this thing started. Starting at number 50, we have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I really wanted to like this one, but I just couldn't see a purpose in it. And it just goes to show that if something is public domain, doesn't mean you need to adapt it. 1 star. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I'll be honest, this one was on in the background while I was building my new Blu-ray shelf, and the only thing I can really remember from it is Bill Murray showed up for a couple of seconds. 1.5 stars. The Mean One. Continuing with horror adaptations of our childhood classics, this one, I understand that it's a parody, but it just feels like a bad banana with a greasy black peel. 1.5 stars. Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir the movie. I didn't realize this movie was going to be a musical, and what really threw me off is when they started to sing, the voice didn't match. Like, they casted somebody else to sing completely and didn't even try to come close to what they were doing, and I don't know, it was weird. 2 stars. Megan, the Chucky That Dances. 2 stars. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I cannot believe what I'm about to say, but maybe the Crystal Skull wasn't that bad of an ending. 2 stars. The Flash. The best thing about this movie was CGI Nick Cage Superman fighting a giant spider somewhere in the multiverse, and it was like less than a minute long. 2 stars. The Meg 2, The Trench. It's a Meg sequel, and they missed the chance to call it Too Meg, Too Furious. 2 stars. Jungle, with an underscore for the L. I was really excited for this one because it was from the director of Train to Busan, and they had a good concept. I just felt like it didn't really go anywhere, sadly. 2 stars. The Little Mermaid. Another Disney remake with a great cast, filled with great singers, except for Prince Eric, who just sounded like, ah. 2.5 stars. Cocaine Bear. The movie advertises a bear that does cocaine. And that's what it does. 2.5 stars. Leave the World Behind. Great acting, again, but it also felt like the screenwriters were left behind with the rest of the world. 2.5 stars. Somebody I Used to Know. This was a weird twist on rom-coms where the lead protagonist was a piece of shit, but it was alright, I guess. 2.5 stars. Blue Beetle. It's fun, but it's also just another generic, funny DC hero movie. 2.5 stars. Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie. Cute, and with a weirdly timed and unexpected needle drop of brutal, 2.5 stars. Knock at the Cabin Door. I would genuinely love to see Batista take on some more serious roles, as well as see more adaptations from M. Night Shyamalan. 3 stars. 65. Adam Driver Fights Dinosaurs. 3 stars. Chicken Run. Dawn of the Nugget. Wholesome, and also a surprisingly good lesson about teaching our children about the past instead of hiding it from them. 3 stars. Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm not a fan of the games, but a friend of mine up in Tacoma gave it the same rating as Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I called bull on that, so I drove up there with a friend, and we watched the movie at his place, and it wasn't actually that bad. 3 stars. Sisu. The old man is here to kick Nazi ass and say compelling dialogue. And they didn't write him any dialogue. 3.5 stars. Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. It's not as deep or meaningful as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but I'm here for the quirky sea girl who goated in the sauce. 3.5 stars. I apologize for that pun already. Creed 3. I'm not really a big fan of the Rocky films, but this was a great boxing movie with some real stakes. 3.5 stars. Renfield. Nick Cage's Dracula was honestly a highlight of the year for me. The rest of the movie was alright. 3.5 stars. Never Hike Alone 2. It is a Friday the 13th fan film that is probably a better entry than some of the official entries to the Friday the 13th series. 3.5 stars. Saw 10. After finally seeing why John Kramer got a lot more brutal after the first movie, I kinda understand it now, and dare I say, it's a little bit impactful. 3.5 stars. A Man Called Otto. This movie was surprisingly touching and darker than the trailers made it seem it was gonna be. 3.5 stars. Evil Dead Rises. I can confidently say after watching Evil Dead all these years, I would rather be mutilated by those trees than take a cheese grater to the leg. 3.5 stars. The Boy and the Heron. With a little bit of pacing issues, I think this animation is absolutely outstanding. And I also had no idea that Robert Pattinson was the Heron until the end credits scroll. Like, what? 3.5 stars. Gran Turismo. There's a couple cringy gamer moments for sure, and the movie's races are alright, they have their moments, but really this movie is about the characters, and they shine very well. 4 stars. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. An honest-to-God adaptation that is filled with love of the series, and shines with its stars Charlie Day and Jack Black. 4 stars. When You Finish Saving the World. The most socially awkward mother-son combo, and there was a literal point in the movie that physically made me and my fiance leave the room out of social cringe. But it's pretty good. 4 stars. Theater Camp. This movie definitely took an emotional turn towards the end, which I wasn't expecting considering I was laughing for a bunch of the movie. And even if you're not a theater person, I think you'd really enjoy this mockumentary. 4 stars. Dream Scenario. The Twilight Zone meets cancel culture, and it's a mashup that I didn't know I needed to exist, and Nick Cage's performance in this is just outstanding. 4 stars. A Haunting in Venice. Say what you will about the previous movies, I very much enjoy them, and I love how this one decided to lean more into the horror aspect of a murder mystery. 4 stars. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think this movie is hilarious, it is brutal, and it's probably one of the best wrap-ups we could get for these characters and for the Guardians of the Galaxy in general. 4 stars. David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. I'm not going to make any jokes with this one, it's spectacular. Go see it for yourself. 4 stars. The Last Kingdom, 7 Kings Must Die. I love this show, and I thought this movie was a fantastic epilogue to the series that I've been watching for so many years now. 4 stars. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. I've never really been a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I feel like this movie is so welcoming to a new audience, and it's just filled with lovable characters, and it's just genuine, and I think anyone could become a fan off of this movie. 4.5 stars. Scream 6. Jason wishes he took Manhattan this well. 4.5 stars. Elemental. I know it's a simple script, but it's cute, and I may have cried a little, okay? Just deal with it. 4.5 stars. They Cloned Tyrone, a satire movie with a sci-fi twist that I cannot wait to show the rest of my friends. 4.5 stars. John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick kicks ass like nobody else, and while I'm not 100% on the ending, I can't help but love this series and I love this entry. 4.5 stars. Talk to Me. An insanely creative possession movie that honestly unsettled me. 4.5 stars. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. This movie felt like a D&D game where the dungeon master wanted to keep things very serious, but the party didn't give a crap and just did whatever they wanted. And that is the only way to play D&D for me personally, so 4.5 stars. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is an honest-to-God love letter to Spider-Man / comic book movies, and the multiverse aspect actually serves the story, unlike a lot of other multiverse movies that have been coming out recently. 4.5 stars. We have finally reached the top 5, and for that, I think I need to, get a little more formal. Excuse me a moment. There we go. At number 5, we have Asteroid City. I have always loved Wes Anderson, and I personally think this is one of his best movies. I love the way how they use such odd concepts and comedy in this movie to deliver a message about grief and finding your place in this weird world. The movie gets a lot of laughs out of you, and it also finds a way to tug at your heartstrings, and it really requires you to think about what the message is at certain points, as the characters also struggle to figure out what's the point. The cast is star-studded, with a bunch of old returning veterans of Wes Anderson's work and a couple of new additions too, and none of them miss a beat. This movie is a dream I don't want to wake up from, and you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. 5 stars. There's a lot of movies these days that try to replicate classic movies, but none of them even come close to our number 4 slot, The Holdovers. This movie felt like a classic movie, not just with the way it was shot, but also the way it was written and directed. Paul Giamatti's performance in this is spectacular, as always, but it doesn't pull away or take focus from his co-stars, who also deliver some of the best performances of the year. The three work together as an incredible trio, and I would love to see more of them. This is definitely a new Christmas movie that I'm adding to my yearly watch list, and it is honestly the definition of the term instant classic. 5 stars. Before we get into the top 3 now, I have to do another quick change. 1 second. Barbenheimer. My shirt. There we go. Barbenheimer. Barbenheimer was the cinematic event of the year. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, where were you? These were 2 films made by 2 very different but incredibly talented teams that ended up coming out on the same day, and the internet went nuts over it. Everyone said there was only one way to watch this film: to see both of them on the same day on the biggest screen possible. And that's what me and my fiance did. We got the shirts, and we went on 7/21/23, and we had a stellar time. These 2 movies, for me, bounced around on my list like crazy when I first saw them, but as I got a little later in the year, I kind of leaned more towards one than the other, and that leads us into our top 3. At number 3, we have Barbie. Barbie is just, it's wonderful. It's everything I didn't know I wanted a comedy to be. The writing takes us from some ridiculous, over-the-top fun to filling our eyes with water over some genuinely heartfelt, beautiful moments. The cast is also star-studded and has some incredible performances all around. And don't even get me started on the set design. I mean, like, I grew up with an older sister, a niece, and 2 girl cousins, and I got to play with a lot of their Barbies and their Barbie toys, and it was so fun to see all those toys replicated in this movie as either set design or like a prop, and then just the end credit where they talk about the weird stuff that was made, like the pooping dog or the pregnant doll, and like, I remember playing with those as a kid, and seeing that replicated was just so funny and cool. It just felt, it was heartfelt. I love this movie. It was heartfelt. It was amazing, and 5 stars. I don't know how else to say it. It was great. On to the second part of the cinematic event of the year. At number 2, we have Oppenheimer. This is probably my favorite cinematic Christopher Nolan movie I ever saw. And by that I mean like seeing it in the theaters. Like, this one was my favorite. Let's start with the obvious. It's another star-studded cast where everyone gives 100% to the movie, and it's amazing. But clearly, there is a standout, and it is Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. He just takes things to a whole nother level, and he killed it in this movie. The score and the sound design paired with the practical effects and the cinematography truly make this a 3-hour bio epic. The film bounces between two different viewpoints on Oppenheimer, and at some points in the film they want you to root for him, other points in the film they want you to hate him, and I feel like they leave it at a point where you kind of get to decide that for yourself as well. Oppenheimer is 5 stars. Alright, here we are at our number 1 spot. This movie was the biggest surprise for me this year. Like, I did not see it coming, and especially its place on this list because I've always been more of a fan of King Kong. Godzilla Minus One takes the number 1 spot of the movies of 2023 this year. There is honestly nothing negative I can say about this movie. It's just incredible. It is an epic monster thriller filled with deeply human moments. The Warner Godzilla films, which are the only Godzilla films I've really ever seen, have human characters, but it feels like they're just there for the laughs between the action to pad the runtime. The human characters in this are what drive the story. Godzilla Minus One revolves around these extremely well-written characters and everything that they are going through, and the monster actually ties into the emotional journey, and it's so well written. The performances are just stellar, the music is incredible, and Godzilla is actually freaking terrifying in this one, which is amazing. That almost never happens in any of the Warner monster movies. This movie was perfect, and it deserves all the awards as well as the number 1 spot on my list. 5 stars. So that was my ranked list of the 50 movies I watched in 2023. I'm sure you have very different opinions from me, and that's totally fine. I'm not a film critic, I just like watching movies. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I also want to thank my fiance for watching a bunch of these movies with me this year, especially Barbenheimer. And I just want to thank anybody I've gone to see a movie with this year. I have a great time with these, as you can tell, and I can't wait to do this again next year, hopefully. Until then, Happy New Year!